Greetings, my Israelite brothers and sisters, heirs, joint heirs, however you may come. I just want to say greetings to you all. I'm coming just to share some good stuff. I labeled this High Time for High Point. Okay, so let's talk about some of the things that's going to be going on in High Point, North Carolina. How you doing, Ricky? Those that are here, don't forget to hit the like button so we can draw more people to this conversation. Um, so first of all, I want to say greetings. It's high time for High Point, February 7th through the 9th. I'm going to drop some things I'm going to be dropping up there right now. Okay, that's going to be peace, my brother ROI again. Canson, how you doing? Um, so I'm going to be dropping some knowledge. You all hit the like button real quick. Listen, things to watch in 2019. Watch the USA government shutdown. Okay, this thing is not coming to a close end. Look at the games that are being played between both sides. Okay, this thing is nowhere in a resolution stage where you got both sides like this making their pleas. Okay, it has to happen. This government, if anybody gives in and opens up the government without getting what they want, this is the only time that they can get what they want. This is why the sand has been drawn in the land. This is why the line has been drawn in the sand. So somebody wants to know why. Why is this happening? Russia, and then simultaneously you got on the collusion investigation. Okay, Russia is sitting back laughing at all of this. They're laughing at the collusion investigation. They're laughing at the government being shut down. They're laughing at Trump's tactics because he doesn't come across as a politician. He's operating as a businessman. America doesn't know what to do. And those that are in the mainstream are fighting. So a nation that is divided cannot fight. They cannot concentrate. So right now, what does that have to do with the Bible? Putin or Russia, Gog, Magog, they must strengthen. This is the 200 million army that the Bible talks about. It's Russia and China. Okay? I talk about that more and maybe a little bit on side conversations during the High Point Great Gathering Hebrew Conference presentation. Again, that's going to be at the Red Lion Hotel, February the 7th through the 9th. Go ahead and register, get your room. I shared other videos what the promo code is. It's 7 SEVE, then with the date February the 7th, 0207. Okay. So let's get back to what's going on in the United States. And how does that fit in prophetically? Russia must get its house in order with China. How does that happen? If nothing's going on in America, then Russia doesn't have to work so covertly. Whenever you got to strengthen yourself covertly, it's difficult to do. When America is distracted and dealing with domestic issues, it can't watch things on a global level at the magnitude that our allies are used to us being the watchdog. Okay, America is the global watchdog. Russia can do what it wants to. It can push. Russia did a lot of things to kind of push their muscle. And the only thing we really did is Obama put some sanctions on them. Okay? But Russia still went into Ukraine and did what they had to do. Now you got China flexing its muscles. Everybody's flexing their muscles, but Russia and China are forming an alliance. And what's happening in the U.S. is allowing them to do that because we're concentrating on the wall and collusion with the election, and two parties can't get together. Now, the book of Amos says nothing happens and the Lord don't know it. So everything that is happening has to happen so that Russia can get its house in order. Other than that, Russia and China cannot get their house in order. Okay? So that's why it has to happen. Now, somebody else will say, well, then, America can always pick up the phone and call up its ally, Britain. But you got to look at what's going on in Britain. Britain is in chaos right now about the European Union, okay? And that's what Brexit is all about. Brexit is Britain has exit, E-X-I-T, and they call it Brexit, B-R-E-X-I-T. Brexit means Britain has already, in 2016, they have already had a nationwide vote, and they voted to leave the ECU. That's the European Union. Now, I'm going to talk about the European Union because some of us may not completely understand it. I didn't either, but it's important to know. I'm just trying to get my camera focused. Okay. What the European Union did, the reason why they had a union was in order for Europe or the countries in Europe not to fight each other, if they had a union that they all could commit to, whether it's immigration, trade, the same currency, they're less likely to fight each other. They will work together. And that's what the European Union is about. It's about being cohesively tied together, that you would have to work things out. The same issue of discussion that's in the United States with the wall, immigration, is the same issue with the European Union, immigration. Britain does not want that particular agreement in the European Union to occur, where people can just come and go, especially since Turkey joined, okay? I hope my camera does better than this. Because Turkey joined, a lot of the terrorists were going through Turkey, which then allows them, through the EU agreement, to travel into those other areas such as Britain, Germany, Rome, and it goes on, Romania, all like that. But the EU is really called the Treaties of Rome. The common denominator that they all have is that they are a strong Catholic-based religion. So we already knew that Britain is a Protestant country. So what were they doing in there? They didn't belong there. It's not a part of prophecy. Those 10 toes are the 10 strong nations in the European Union, okay? And Britain made it more than 10, and they don't have the same religious philosophy as Catholicism as Ireland and the rest of the countries over there have. So they had to come out. And they did vote to come out in 2016. That vote has already been done. They're out. What you see on the news now is Britain has till March the 29th of 2019, this year, to present the start of the exit. If they don't do it, then coming out of the union is senseless, although they've already came out of it, because it allows the European Union Council to create terms, because Britain has had 2 years now to come up with an agreement, and they haven't. The 29th is the deadline. After the 29th, the Council, the European Union, all of those countries can meet and they say, here's the agreement. And the agreement is not going to be much different, and it's not going to change Europe. Remember, it's not going to change Britain or the United Kingdom or London, however you want to call it. The issue is, and London is in Britain, the issue is that Britain, the reason why they kept their motto was back in 2016, make Britain great again. You ever heard that before? Make America great again? All of that is that Britain, their dollar, their pound was losing value compared to the euro. And the euro was the European dollar that could be used in any one of those countries, a part of the European Union or the EU. Britain says, wait a minute, we're getting the short end of the stick on this because our pound has lost value compared to the euro. Okay? So now Britain says internally, this thing is not good for us, so let's leave. And they voted. The country was in split. They were in a divide. I mean, it was like husband against wife, families against families, because some said, no, we need to stay a part of the union. And some said, no, we need to be we need to have our own destiny. We don't need to be tied to getting approval from the union every time we get ready to do something. Now, this is how I want you to look at the union. And some people are going to say, well, this is so boring. No, it's not. These are the issues that causes the major countries to become weak so that Russia and China, who are collectively the 200 million army that's spoken of in Revelation and in Zechariah the 14th chapter. Okay? So this is why this stuff is important. And when you watch the news, you'll know what's going on and you won't say it's boring. Okay? Think of Europe like the United States. The United States has a bunch of different states. It's got Florida. It's got North Carolina, South Carolina. It's got Pennsylvania, Georgia. There's only one American dollar. And in the United States, you can go from one state to the next. You don't have to go through a border patrol crossing from Florida into Georgia and Georgia into South Carolina and South Carolina to North Carolina. We got highways and you can travel anywhere you want to because you're a part of the United States. That's what Europe did. Europe says, let's become the European Union, and that way people can travel freely among the members of the EC, of the European Economic Union, or the EEC. It's got many different names, but it's the European Union. The problem with that, when they first did it, it was good. But when Turkey joined, a lot of people who are coming from the Turkey or Middle Eastern people, Muslim faith, they want to go to a country that's well established. And where did they go? They went to England. They went to Europe. They went to, Britain, because you can take that euro dollar and you can make money here and go there and go on vacation and just travel all through it. Long as you was one of those 10 countries, you can go and come different places. Well, that wasn't too good. That wasn't too good. And Britain says, not only are we opening up our doors for everybody to come in, but we got terrorist acts are on the rise. We got all of these sales coming into our country. We've got our pound has lost value. We cannot even control our own trade of what comes in, what comes out. We can't control tariffs. So the Britain that used to be the strong muscle Britain is no longer there. Why is that important? Because Britain does not belong to, they're not one of the 10 toes in Nebuchadnezzar's dream. They're not one of the 10 phases or the 10 levels or dynasties of Rome. And that's why they call the European Union the treaties of Rome. Look this up on the internet. Just type in treaties of Rome and watch the European Union come up. And you're going to say, well, what does Rome have to do with the European Union? Here's what Rome has to do with it. They all are Catholics. That's their faith. The Pope is their pastor. Rome is among everybody except for England. England is a Protestant state. Protestant means we protested against Catholicism. So they don't belong of it. They don't belong there biblically. They don't belong there politically. So they all got to come out, right? So that's why Britain is no longer a part of the treaties of Rome, because they're not Catholic and it's not according to the prophetic word. So that's why they're coming out. Now that they're coming out, they had to go in order to come out so that there could be confusion in Britain and eternal confusion, which now it weakens them as a country. At the same time, what America is going through is weakening us as a country. So you got two main countries in the globe, Britain and the United States, that's got issues, eternal issues. People fighting against each other, two different stances of policies and beliefs, okay? Governments that cannot come to an agreement internally cannot come to agreement. So what does that mean? Prophetically, it has to happen so that Russia and China can form their alliances and strengthen their alliances so that that army can get together, that 200 million army. And that's the army that you read about in Zechariah, and that's the army that you read about in Revelation. That's who it is. So this is why all of this is so important. Now I'm going to jump over here to the chat room, and I'm going to see what some of you all are saying. So, Pastor, do we need to do as Israel to better be prepared to what's to come? Absolutely. What we need to be prepared for is to biblically understand what's going on and not be fearful, but to biblically understand prophecy and stay out of it. As Hebrews, this ain't your battle. This is not your fight. Just get prepared. Get prepared for the instability of America. Be prepared for the instability of Europe and Britain. That's it. Just be prepared. Be prepared. That's all. Be prepared. Make sure you have like the government shutdown. If people had 3 months, 6 months of salary where you can pay your bills until this thing blows over, then you would have been in a better shape. If you knew it was coming, you would be in a better shape. Is it going to blow over? Of course it's going to blow over. But then you got the aftermath of it blowing over. So you got to rebuild. Here's an example. Remember in 2010, you had the housing market, the crash, and everything just went kaboosh. Everything went haywire. There was furlough days. People got laid off. It took us almost 8 years. 2014, 15, I'm sorry. Not 8 years. 2010. I would say the housing market is just coming back. So, I say the housing market came back in about 2015, 2016, almost 5 years. It took 5 years for America to start getting itself back together, all because of the housing market crash. This shutdown is going to cause an issue, although it might last for a certain amount of time, but it's going to cause the market to go down. It's going to cause the commerce to go down. On top of that, you got um, um, the wall issue with immigration. That battle between the Republicans and the Democrats is going to be going on for the next 2 or 3 years. Okay? Even though they're going to be coming up with these tactics to get what they want. Okay? Then you got the collusion trial going on. You got a president that might get impeached, or you got a president that's going to wake up a base that's going to be outrageously crazy, and they're going to be fighting each other. Mainstream and mainstream, like media and media, is going to be fighting each other, and all you need to do is stay out of it. And it's going to impact gas, commerce, everything. So you need to be prepared as people of the book. As people of the book, believers of the Most High, God of Israel, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, we need to be prepared. Okay? Not for doomsday, but you need to be prepared for the pieces of the puzzle that are falling in place, that leads up to the abomination of the desolation standing in the holy place. So, yeah, that's what we should be doing right now. And we should be learning the truth. We should be turning to the truth. And we should be creating our relationship to reestablish the covenant agreement that our forefathers threw away. Okay, so let me go back to this. Ricky says this issue is on a national level. Think about all the issues on the local level. In my area, Myrtle Beach, they are fighting like cats and dogs. Pride goeth before a fall. Yes. Listen, let me tell you, there are people fighting that you would not normally see fighting and having arguments. I was at a restaurant on Saturday night, and when I saw two groups coming to the restaurant having an argument, and they were, Caucasian people, but one was sort of like the, I would say, classy Democrat and a classy Republican. And they were fighting. And they were fighting over a table. But the issue was really not about the table. The issue was their views and their opinions, because they knew that they were different one from another. See, those of us that are believers who don't pay attention to politics, we see people as people. But trust me, people who are politically involved, they know each other. They know each other when they walk in a room. A Democrat knows a Republican when they walk into the room. They know how to distinguish each other. They can go into a restaurant, they can be in a grocery line. They know each other. They know whether or not they have the same views and opinions. And when they don't write down these days, they fighting. They fighting in traffic. They fighting in. I have never seen what I see today. What happened in Charlottesville was Republicans fighting against Democrats. That's what that was. That was the issue on views. Okay? That's what that was about. So what we need to do is stay out of the battle, stay out of the fight. This battle's not yours, it's the Lord's, and you need to return to the Most High. I'm going to look at something else here what somebody else is writing. And ROI says, Psalm 75:10, the horns of the wicked also will I cut off, but the horns of the righteous shall be exalted. Thank you, my brother. Let me see what somebody else wrote. Why is any of that significant, respectfully? Okay, I think I answered that question. Why all of what I was talking about, excuse me, was significant. If you were referring to what I was talking about. He says, most of us don't know any of what Pastor is saying. He must teach this, and I'm glad I understand it. Yes, yes. So, okay, I understand affairs of the world are not really imperative, but if something is being taught, I am here to hear it respectfully. I agree with that statement, book time. Okay, thank you, ROI. Yes, because ROI, Tia says ROI, yes, because you know Israel, you are sleeping, you are awake. Okay, so why is this all that I'm talking about important? You know, I told Sister Tia today when we were talking about some of this, I said, Sister Tia, Biblical T, I said, this stuff that we understand politically, we understand where it fits in biblically, but this is above the heads of the above average learner. And I respect that. Why? Because I had to sit and make myself anywhere. I'm still here. I'm still here. What we know is happening is this. The above average person, your above average learner, biblical learner, is not going to understand or make any of this significant, because we specifically look for the abomination of the desolation to stand in the holy place. What I'm talking about is the precursor events that lead up to it, to confirm the signs of what's happening. You just don't come up with a 200 million army, okay? You just don't come up with the abomination of the desolation standing in the holy place. It just don't happen overnight. There has to be events that lead up to the doors opening for that to happen. So what I'm talking about is that now doors are opening and prophecy is about to be fulfilled. Okay? You don't find these events specifically written in the Bible because they're just doors and gateways that lead up to the prophecy to be fulfilled. Okay? For instance, and let me share this with you. Let me make it biblical so we all can understand. In order for God to show Israel how powerful he was, he had to take down Pharaoh. So when Moses went to Pharaoh and said, let my people go, because the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, our fathers, said to, Pharaoh laughed. And the children of Israel, they knew of the God of their forefathers, but remember, they had been under Egyptian rule, so they forgot. They wasn't at freedom and at liberty, and they cried out to the Most High, please release us, please release us. But if the God that you know is not moving and you don't see anything happening, then you can lose faith. And they did. And that's why Exodus, the 12th chapter, Moses told the children, eat with your loins girded, your shoes on your feet, and your staff in your hand, because the Most High is getting ready to move tonight. He's going to come through here and take the blood of this lamb and put on your doorpost. And where he sees the blood, he'll pass over you. But where he don't see the blood, he's going to kill the firstborn. Now, he had to harden Pharaoh's heart in order for the children of Israel to know who he was. Because the Pharaoh just said to Moses, okay, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, I don't see him, I don't know where he's at, but that's your belief. Okay, if he said, let y'all go, then go ahead and go, see you later. The children of Israel would not have had faith and belief. God could not have performed and destroy Israel. I mean, destroy Egypt. He had to show who he was. Okay? So this is what's happening today. That door, Pharaoh hardened his heart, was only a door that would lead to prophecy. That's all that was. Let's take it up to the Messiah being crucified. Okay? Certain things had to happen in order to show prophecy. So number one, he had to be betrayed by a kiss by an unfamiliar friend, because that was prophesied. It had to be for 30 pieces of silver. That was prophesied. The money had to be returned. That was prophesied. Then the money had to be put into the potter's field. That was prophesied. None of his bones could be broken. That was prophesied. But the day and the time of the event, all of those things independently did not mean nothing. Think about it. The soldiers, Roman soldiers, were ordered, listen, go up there and break their bones and make sure all of them are dead. And one of the tactics they would do was break their bones in their legs, and they would suffer and die. They wouldn't go through the persecution anymore. When they got to the Messiah, they broke the two thieves' legs, but when they got to the Messiah, he was already dead, so they didn't break his legs. So what they did was, he's dead. Let's just make sure. So they took a spear and they pierced him in the side. That event in of itself meant nothing. Okay? But when you collect and put that all together, it fulfilled a number of prophecies that confirmed that this was a Messiah. Because in Exodus, the 12th chapter, we know that the Messiah took the place of the Passover lamb, and you cannot break the bones of the Passover lamb. So all of those events were just minor precursors, but looking at everything collectively, it opened up the door for prophecy to be fulfilled and confirmed. Okay, now let's move this up to today. Russia and China is that army. But Russia and China just ain't going to pick up the phone and say, hey, you want to be friends? You want to be allies? Let's put together our resources. They can't just do that. America, if they knew that that was taking place, you know how America and Britain would do. They're like, oh, no. We're not going to let that happen. No. But in order for it to happen, these two nations must regress itself. It must be weakened with these global, these domestic issues, so that they cannot concentrate globally. They can't even do it together. This is why when Trump said, when you watch the news, we don't have an issue in Syria, we're going to start pulling our armies out. Why does Trump want to pull the armies out? Because he wants to protect the borders. He wants to protect Mexico border. Okay? And he wants to put the military there. But he knows Congress is going to say, no, we need them over here, we need them over there. So what does he do? He says ISIS is weak. They about gone. What happens when he announces that? Just last week, ISIS went over there and took claim for blowing up some Americans. Okay? So now it shows that globally we're on the initial stages of not being the power on a global level that we normally are. And you can't pick up the phone and call up Britain because they got their issues going on. So this thing has to happen so that prophecy can start to go down its path that it needs to go down through. So this is why this is important, and this is why it's going to lead that European Union to say to Israel, because once Israel sees America is weak, Then the Pope is going to go over there and be a part of who's really the European Union, is going to go over, and Israel's going to say, well, wait a minute, man, we don't have America watching our back no more because they got problems at home. And I'm not saying this stuff happens overnight. These are precursors that lead up to this, okay? So now Israel is going to have to say, wow, let's go down to Rome and let's let the Pope come in, and he's already buying land in Israel. Some of y'all didn't even know that. But I'm telling you, every major biblical landmark, the Pope has come in and bought land next to it and has built large cathedrals. So when you want to go over there and visit the place where the Messiah had his feet washed, that house that they say is still up, and when you want to go over there and visit certain biblical landmarks, the Catholic has a cathedral over there, and they say, well, after y'all come visit this, come over here and join us in a mass, a Catholic mass service. Ricky just put up, we feel very bad for the way our forefathers were treated here. Now think about those nations who have lost their forefathers to wars to America. They want recompense just like us. Well, you know, that's why Putin is doing what he's doing, because Putin feels like America took down Russia. And so now he is creating this fake news as if they really did something, and he's got America fighting each other. And as Sister Tia and I was talking about it today, he's doing it and hasn't even fired a single weapon. Not one gun, not one missile. He hasn't moved not one naval warship toward America. Because you know, America, if your Navy fleet is pointed in the wrong direction, America starts to move in and converge in on you. And when America went over there just a few weeks ago and started messing with China, China says, let me tell y'all something right now. We can take out every one of those naval ships with a blink of an eye. You notice America hadn't said nothing. They didn't even respond to that. Okay? When you got the Chinese president telling you, listen, this is what we're getting ready to do, and this is what we can do, and we don't say nothing, man, because we got too many issues going on. But this is biblical prophecy that's leading to Russia and China joining together so they can be the army that Revelations is talking about. This is why watching the news now, to me, is fun, because I can read the Bible and understand what's going on. Now, when I know what's going on and I see events taking place, I say, oh, wow, look at the power moves. Look at the chess pieces. Look at the pawns moving in certain places, like a chess game. Wow, that's getting ready to move over here. Wow, this is getting ready to move over there. When you see it, then you say, wow, oh my goodness. Biblical T says you will see these precursors have been building up for decades to reach the fulfillment of prophecy. America will fall. Ricky says exactly. Google America will be taken without firing a shot. Tia says that. So thank you all for all your comments you're putting in here. So these things have to take place, and I'm watching it. Now, let's get back to homeland. Let's get back to America. Let me stay away from global in America. We have an opioid heroin epidemic. The scripture says, and this is Bible, over there the prophet said, who are these four right here? And he says, those are carpenters. And he says in the book of Zechariah, what carpenters? What do you mean carpenters? He said, yeah, they've come to fray. And he says, fray? Yes, they come to fray the nations that have scattered Israel. For I was a little sore at Israel, but they took it too far. So these carpenters come to fray them. Now, when you fray something, it's done slowly, methodically, piece by piece, agonizing, in an agonizing way. So in the 80s, you had the crack epidemic hit the black community hard. It hit the Spanish community hard. And people went to jail for that. They didn't make it a health issue. They made it a criminal issue. Why? Because people were shooting each other. They were doing whatever they could to steal, kill, rob, destroy, to get money to buy that crack. Now you got an opioid heroin epidemic. And you got a different group of people now who are stealing, killing, overdosing, do whatever they can do to get them opioids. Notice it's not a criminal issue, it's a health issue. So when Trump gets on the news and says, we got 300 overdoses a day, 98 deaths a day, it's happening in places like Maine, Rhode Island, New Hampshire, Connecticut. This is not where Israel lives at, okay? So when this, and I don't want to see anybody's child have to go through an overdose. And I'm glad that it's a health issue, because back in the 80s, it should have been a health issue. However, Trump knows that this stuff is coming right across the Mexican border. He knows where it's coming from. He knows what country grows opium and all of the other things that's used for heroin and opioids. He knows where it's coming from. And he knows that if he don't cut off that wall, he gonna have an issue. He knows that, okay? I'm just cleaning my glass so we can stay in order here. Blur, so we're not blurred. So Trump knows that. He knows that. But then you got the Democrats who are saying, no, because you chimed up with Russia. So we want you out. And we want to be the ones to do it, not you. So we got some issues going on in America, and that's such a big fight. The opinions are so divided that people are fighting among each other. Families. Some families are Trump Knights, Republicans, and some are Pelosi-Knights, Democrats. And they actually fighting each other. At the same time, across the waters, you got some people say, listen, we don't want to be a part of this union, which they already have no choice because they've already taken the vote. But now they don't agree on the terms of the exit. And they got to the 29th. They've had 2 years. The 29th is the deadline. And if Britain cannot agree on what they're going to agree with internally so that they can present it to the European Union, who then they have to vote on it and agree on it, it's not going to happen. Which means the European Union is going to say, here are the terms. And if Britain does not like the terms, then you got a war going on. Got a war going on. Because you're going to have Ireland and Northern Ireland. Northern Ireland is a part of Britain. And Ireland is a part of the Union. Strong proponents. But that's Catholic and Protestant. Now you're going to have that war that you had back in the 80s and 90s starting all back over in Ireland. And they was doing some bombings over there. They were killing each other. Protestants and Catholics. Now you're going to have that war started. So you got to look at this whole thing globally and understand it. So biblically, you can put things in perspective. Um, Ricky says, but they do not have Abba Father on their side. Let me see what else. I'm skipping down. America is so high on opioids, most of the citizens don't realize that the Jewish people are running their country. There are barely no American people in political parties. Drama King says, yes, they were. That's why the Most High was coming from China. The Trump's plan is totally busted. Fentanyl is the killer. Oh, yes, yes. That's that fitting. Yeah, I'm not saying it right. There, Drama Queen. Number one is West Virginia. No Israel's in West Virginia. Now they want to make it a national epidemic. Yes, yes, yes. So Israel must now join together. I'm talking about Hebrew, spiritual and natural. That's why I always say, greetings, my brothers and sisters, natural heirs, joint heirs, because all believers of the Most High that's going to keep the covenant agreement that was originally given to Israel, we all must turn to it. We all must turn to it. And the same law that is for Israel is for the sojourners and the strangers. We must go back to this agreement, keep this agreement, and stay out of the fight, people. Stay out of the fight. This battle is not yours, it's the Lord's. I'm going to be sharing this all week. This is not with the Hebrew conference. I'm not covering this in a total way at the Hebrew conference, Great Gathering Hebrew Conference at High Point. We're going to cover the plan to salvation, the people of the book, Brother Benaiah. But when we touch on the added part and put in a few slides of who is in Israel now, you cannot go into that. When you can't go into Revelations and tell people there's going to be a 200 million army, and you don't know how to explain to people, how does this army get together? So this is why I have to be well informed of what's happening politically today and know how this stuff points toward tomorrow, so that if I am asked a question, I'll be well informed and I can tell you sources and websites and news media outlets. I can tell you what to go look at and look at it for yourself. Not for what I say, look at it for yourself. So I'm at my destination. Peace. We'll talk soon.